Well, so is this a big issue? Should we care about it? Is it important? We need to actually take a step back and look at more generally what determines a product's obsolescence. Because obsolescence might be indeed created by the producer of the product, but it might be created by other constraints or other phenomena. One constraint obviously is technology. Maybe it's just not possible to produce a light bulb that lasts forever, okay? Or if it's possible to do it, it would be prohibitively costly, and so it's better not to do it. So that's one reason. But another source of obsolescence is innovation. When new products are introduced, which are substitutes for older products, they make these older products out of date. Then, you know, they just have better performance. Oftentimes they are not even more expensive, really, or their price goes down fairly quickly. And then, you know, they constitute a viable alternative to these old products, so these old products are just thrown away. A good illustration of this is Sony's Walkman. So it was initially created to play tape cassettes, okay? Then pretty quickly Walkmans were new machines which used CDs, which read CDs, okay? And finally, after maybe 20 years, well, a new technology appeared, which was MP3, okay? MP3 means that you can have a very small machine with a lot of music on it. It is connected to the internet, and it's much more convenient than a Walkman. You don't have to carry around your CDs or your tape cassettes. Okay. So what did we do? Well, those of us who had a Walkman, they just threw them away. And this created a lot of electronic waste. Innovation is something that's good, right? I think we all agree that innovation should be encouraged rather than tapered. It's a good process. It allows us to have access to better things. But we shouldn't think of innovation as something that just comes from the sky, you know, independent of the firm's business strategy. A lot of the innovation happens because firms have made decisions as to putting resources and gathering people to think about new products for which consumers might be willing to pay a high price, and that actually might change their lives substantially. And then those firms decide whether they want to market those products and when they want to market those products. And this is how much of the innovation we are exposed to actually happens. So it's a decision of the firms. And if we look at actual innovations, we might be a bit concerned about how much they are true innovations. Maybe their contribution to the overall well-being is a bit dubious. And here I'm going to take an extreme example of that. In the 1920s, GM decided to introduce models of cars with different colors. Not only that, but actually they introduced a different color every year, so that by looking at the color of the car, you sort of knew which year it came out as a model. So for the drivers, it gave them the opportunity to choose the color of the car they were driving, which is always nice, but also to signal to everybody else that they were driving the most recent car, because people could see it from the color of the car. And, well, there might have been a demand for it, a social demand for this. But many of us might think that maybe we would just be as well off in a world where there would be only black cars. You know, those black cars as the ones that Henry Ford was producing, and he was quoted to say that you can have any color you like, so long as it's black. So, you know, okay, it's nice to be able to buy cars of different colors and maybe have cars that show that they are the most recent model to the rest of the world. It makes you look good vis-a-vis your friends and family or everybody else. But is this really valuable? Well, maybe this is more like a gimmick that General Motors use to make us buy more and more often. At least we might suspect this is the case. And actually, this logic applies to any innovation by a firm. Is it a good innovation? That is, does the benefit of introducing this new product exceed the cost of introducing this new product? This is a very relevant question from the point of view of economists, and industrial economists have studied this in detail, thinking about what are the incentives of firms to introduce new products. Do they have an incentive to introduce too many new products or too few new products? And their conclusion is there is no clear takeaway. It might be that actually firms do introduce too many new products sometimes, and some other times, in some other situations, they introduce too few new products. So I'm not going to get into the detail of the arguments, but it's unclear whether we should worry about that there are being too many new products introduced or not. Actually, even in the case of the cars in different colors, you could argue that if you do that, meaning that you are going to have people buying new cars more often, it means that you are creating a market for used cars. Okay? And this market for used cars creates an opportunity for those people who can't buy a new car to buy a used car, which is in pretty good shape, because people don't keep their new car very long because they want the new color or the new model. And then this is actually good, right? This creates some surplus for those people who otherwise could not afford a car or would have really to pay a lot of money as compared to their actual income. Well, now they can pay less money and get a pretty good car. And this actually creates competition for the producer, for the car manufacturer. So then you see that it's not even so clear that the car manufacturer really has an incentive to introduce many, many new models. And maybe you could argue that it does not introduce enough new models, for instance. Now, I'm not going to go farther in the reasoning here, but I'm just going to discuss the link between innovation and the choice of durability of a product. So it can be argued both ways. Okay, you can argue that actually a firm that innovates, that anticipates it will introduce new products in the future, has an incentive to actually shorten the lifespan of its products. So say if I produce smartphones and I expect that in the next 2 years, in 2 years I'm going to introduce a new model, I'm worried that people are not going to buy my new model, they are just going to stick with the old model. Now, if the old model doesn't work anymore, then they will buy my new model, right? So you see that if you are an innovative firm, you do have an incentive to shorten the lifespan of your products to create a market for the new products you will introduce later. So that's one aspect. But another aspect is that innovation can also be a way around the cohesion dynamics. You remember Coase and the durable good monopolist, right? So in this theory, you have high valuation consumers who are willing to pay high price, and then if you just always sell the same durable good, then of course you will try to sell it at a lower price to other people, because you can't sell again to those who have paid a high price at the beginning. But now, if you keep introducing new products, those people are willing to pay high price. Maybe actually they will be willing to keep paying a high price if the product is new enough. And then, even though they have this old product that still works, Okay, they will just prefer to sell it, you know, I don't know, sell it on eBay or something, and or just get rid of it and just pay a high price again for the new product. So then the firm can just keep selling at a high price to those people who always want the top of the line, say the top of the line iPhone, smartphone, sorry. I didn't want to quote a brand. So the firm can always sell at a high price to those who want to pay a high price for the top of the line smartphone. And then they can still sell the older models at lower prices to other consumers who are not willing to pay such a high price. So then in this way, they sort of, you know, reproduce this ideal business strategy, that is to sell at different prices to different consumers by just selling different products. So then you see that in this case, the possibility for the firm to introduce a new product, to innovate, actually creates an incentive to keep the durability of its products long. So actually it can keep selling those products to some other people, okay, some people with lower valuation. So to sum up what I've said so far, we can say that economic analysis gives us good reasons to believe that firms do engage in planned obsolescence sometimes, but we don't expect that they do it all the time, that this is a systematic behavior by firms. Another issue is the measurement of planned obsolescence, and it is quite tricky. First problem is, how do we determine what is the optimal durability of a product? Okay, because if we want to say that a product does not last long enough, it's because it could last longer. Okay, there's always an argument that the product could last longer. It could have been designed in a way that it could last longer. It could have been designed in a way that it could be repaired more easily and so on. But is this actually desirable? We have to take into account the cost of doing this. So there is some optimal durability of a product, and if we know that, then we can actually say, okay, we are beyond that or below that optimal durability, and therefore there is a problem with which maybe we should blame the firms for that. Okay, but it's not so easy to do. Another issue, which is actually to measure the lifespan of the product itself. I mean, if you look at a product, how long does it last? If you take a washing machine, for instance, how long does it last? Well, it depends on how it's used. I mean, it's going to be random whether, you know, how long, whenever it breaks down. It happens with some probability. It may happen after 5 years, 7 years, 8 years, 11 years. And it also clearly depends on how you use it. And actually, there has been many debates around washing machines. For instance, there was a report by HOP, which is a not-for-profit French organization, you know, Halte à l'obsolescence programmée, and they were arguing that the durability, the average durability of washing machines went down, but actually they were very criticized for their methodology, and it seems like then there was a consensus against their methodology, that actually their conclusions were wrong. Okay, but anyway, it's not easy. It doesn't mean it can't be done, but it's difficult. Actually, when I tried to prepare for this presentation, I wanted to be able to give figures that would give some idea of how important the phenomenon is, the planned obsolescence. But I couldn't really find figures for, you know, general statistics that would tell me that there is really a problem with planned obsolescence. We can find stories, but no global measure of it. Okay, so this is an issue, and if you want to implement policies, to fight planned obsolescence? Well, you will need to be able to measure. So basically, if you think of those difficulties of measurement, if you think of the fact that the theory does not really tell you that you should expect that firms systematically resort to planned obsolescence to protect their monopoly power, then, in view of all the issues that competition policy has to address, and which are very urgent, if you think now about personal data protection, for instance, which is now something that competition authorities worry a lot about. So if you think of also cartels, there are still cartels. They are illegal. They get fined whenever they are found out, but it's not so easy to find out, to prove that firms have constituted a cartel. They hide. So there's a lot of work for the competition authorities. And there are lots of issues that regulation should address regarding consumer protection. And then maybe worrying about planned obsolescence is not so appropriate. Okay, it's not such a big problem that we should just have specific regulations aimed at fighting planned obsolescence per se. But still, we are left with our problem of those landfills full of electronic equipment that it seems could have been used for longer, and that piles up. And this is really a problem, that we have an excess accumulation of waste in general. And we should address this problem. This is a very serious problem for the environment. But maybe thinking about it through the angle of firms resorting to planned obsolescence because they have market power, maybe this is not the right angle. So what is the right angle?